Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hello and welcome. You've joined us on Business Lunch. I'm Nisha Podar and with me is Sonia Shenoy. Sonia, good afternoon. The markets are looking weak at this point. In fact, they've given up the high point, though off the low point of the day as well. But 11,000 mark, that has been really lost by Nifty 50, trading just below that at this point. It's the mid-caps which are taking once again, the biggest beating that we are seeing, and 1.5% down in the mid-cap universe. Nifty Bank is also not performing that well and is down more than 0.5%. So it's some of the biggies like Reliance Industries, ICICI Bank, which are really dragging down the markets. Infosys, after its results on Friday, is roaring. And apart from that, another stock which is going to post its numbers today is going to be Hindustan Unilever, and that is also batting for the bulls. But advanced decline, market breadth, really looking weak at this point, Sonia.
Yes, in fact, one thing that this market is doing is punishing a lot of the bad news quite a bit. So if you look at names like Dr. Reddy's, names like DCB Bank, these are stocks that have fallen. I mean, on another day, I don't think Dr. Reddy's would have fallen 10%, but today it has, and DCB Bank as well. There were some positives in the numbers this time, but I think the negatives outweighed those, and the stock is down about 10-odd%. But having said that, the one thing that this year has taught you, Nisha, is that if you invest in quality names and market leaders, you would have still made money in this market. I mean, names like HUL, Britannia, Bajaj Finance, all market leaders, Asian Paints, all sitting at new highs this afternoon. But be that as it may, let's tell you about Dr. Reddy's. It is the biggest loser on the Nifty now in what is quite is a major setback for the company. The US District Court has converted a temporary injunction against the generic Suboxone into a preliminary injunction. What kind of damage this could have? Ekta is here to give us all the details. Ekta, over to you.
Well, I'll first just give a background with regards to Dr. Reddy's. What had happened is that Dr. Reddy's had received approval for this anti-drug addiction drug called Suboxone. The entire size of this particular drug is around $750 million. So they had received the go-ahead to launch this drug from the US FDA, but at the same time they had a patent litigation which was ongoing with the innovator of the company, which is Indivior. So in any case, Dr. Reddy's launched the drug at risk in the US market, saying that, they'll deal with the patent litigation outcome as and when what happens. So, however, Indivior moved in terms of, Dr. Reddy's launching at risk, and said that, told the court that they cannot launch this particular drug unless that patent litigation which is pending is solved. So there was a temporary injunction which was put on Dr. Reddy's from selling this particular drug in the US market. That temporary injunction has now turned into a permanent injunction by the US court. So they have said that unless you solve that pending patent litigation, you cannot sell this particular drug at risk in the US market, or sell this drug at all in the US market. So that means that it's an opportunity loss for Dr. Reddy's, because the street was factoring in the fact that they could probably sell it. So around $25 million is what they've already sold of this particular drug. They could have sold around $75 million to around $80 million in the US, according to analyst estimates, which would be in 1 year. And EPS estimates were accounting for up to around 50 to 60 rupees from this particular drug. Yes, it will go to appeals. Yes, there is a bond which is created by Indivior, or they have to create it in case they lose the litigation eventually. They have to compensate Dr. Reddy's in terms of losses, but the uncertainty still remains, and you've lost the opportunity in the near term, and that's why the stock is down.
All right, thanks Ekta for that. And of course, the stock has taken a huge beating, but take a look at Infosys, and that is really gaining in trade. So let's take it straight from the biggest loser to the biggest gainer of the day. And Infosys tops the Nifty chart despite reporting a mixed set of Q1 numbers on Friday. Let's take it straight across to Rima Tendulkar, who's joining us with the whole analysis. Rima, what really worked as far as Infosys is concerned?
Well, the reason we thought Infosys might be under pressure, it was because the revenue growth was lower than expectations. So the company delivered a constant currency revenue growth of 2.3%, lower than consensus expectations of 2.5%, lower than what TCS did. BFSI declined for Infosys, whereas it drove growth for TCS. That said, the company continues to maintain its FY19 guidance, and some of the positives in the numbers were the deal wins crossed $1 billion mark for the first time after 7 quarters, and 40% of those deal wins came in from the BFSI sector, perhaps signaling that a turnaround may be underway. To sum it up, CLSA says that the street sees the improvement in the BFSI sector as secular, so it will reflect in Infosys numbers sooner rather than later. Other than that, retail, digital did well, client mining was strong, 4 clients got added in the $100 million bracket, and plus you've got that 1:1 bonus for the shareholders. If you look at the brokerage verdict, a bit mixed. So the lowest estimate, or not the lowest estimate, but a low estimate on the street is that by Nomura, which has put the target price at 1,130, and then you've got a CLSA on the other hand expecting a target price of 1,560 on Infosys.
All right, Rima, thanks so much for all those details. And of course, Opto Circuit's numbers are coming in. The stock is 0.8% up. Net profit coming in at 44.1% higher at 13 crore rupees. All right, let's talk about Tata Motors. And that stock is also under pressure today. Post Moody's credit rating downgraded that particular company's ratings. And Sonia will tell us more about it. Sonia, why this downgrade and lot factored in the stock?
Yes, you know, generally rating agencies are the last in the game to sort of come out with the negative news flow. A lot of this is nothing new. It's known in the market, and that's why the stock is under so much pressure. It's down 40% this year. But just to put the news flow out, Moody's has downgraded Tata Motors' corporate family rating from BA1 to BA2. They've also downgraded the senior unsecured instrument rating from BA1 to BA2. Now, the outlook remains stable, so they haven't changed their overall outlook, but the reasons for the downgrade are very well known. So they say that they expect continued weakness in the credit metrics for Jaguar Land Rover. Rising commodity prices and operational challenges will make sure that the margins stay under pressure. Also, the balance sheet for Tata Motors has been stretched for a while. The debt to EBITDA has now risen to 3.8 times as of March 2018 versus 3 times last year, and it is expected to be under more pressure. Also, they have a large capex plan of almost £4.5 billion, and that could put further pressure on the balance sheet. Furthermore, the numbers are expected this quarter expected to be very weak. Kotak has forecasted big deterioration in the Jaguar Land Rover margins. Looking good for the market at all, specifically for the broader markets. But let's focus on one story now. We learned from sources that the LIC board is likely to give a go-ahead to increasing its stake in IDBI Bank to 51% in its board meeting today. And someone who's been tracking that story bit by bit is here with us. Yash Jain joins in to line up the expectations. Yash, what else would the LIC board deliberate upon?
Well, Sonia, June 29th was the date when the insurance regulator IRDA gave its approval as far as allowing LIC to raise its stake in IDBI Bank to up to 51% is concerned. And today, July 16, we understand that the Board of Life Insurance Corporation of India is meeting in Delhi to give its approval as far as this particular transaction is concerned. Now, of course, the headline approval would be to allow LIC to raise its stake to up to 51% from the current 10.82%. But there would be various finer details which would be discussed in today's board meeting. And the most important one out of them would be that the board members of LIC would discuss a turnaround plan as far as IDBI Bank is concerned. And the elements of that turnaround plan would then later be communicated to the Finance Ministry. Also, what we're given to understand is that LIC would decide on the names of 2 to 3 nominee directors who would be sitting on the board of IDBI Bank from LIC's end. We are given to understand, of course, 2 to 3 nominee directors could be chosen in today's board meeting. The last one, LIC could also decide on the timeline as far as reducing that stake to that mandated 15% is concerned.
All right, thanks Yash, and all those details will be keenly awaited.
15% is concerned.
All right, thanks Yash, and all those details will be keenly awaited in the day today. Now let's take it straight to another stock in focus, Manpasand Beverages. Remember, it has been in news, and today it's up about 2%. But take a look at the one-year chart and we will know what we're talking about. Look at the kind of cut that it had seen, and it was completely rogered in trade when the Deloitte, which is its auditor, had resigned from the company. Let's take it straight to the management of the company. It's CNBC TV18 exclusive, and we spoke to Dhirendra Singh, the CMD of Manpasand Beverages, in his first interview since auditor Deloitte resigned in the month of May. And speaking to my colleague Nimesha, Dhirendra Singh has clarified that they are open to forensic audit should it be demanded by the shareholders of the company.
डेलॉयट ने जो रीज़न दिया था रेजिग्नेशन का, उसमें एक चीज़ उन्होंने लिखा था कि कुछ इन्फॉर्मेशन आपसे टाइम पे नहीं मिली थी। क्या वही सेम इन्फॉर्मेशन नए ऑडिटर ने भी मांगी थी और आपने प्रोवाइड की थी, या ऐसा क्या था जो डेलॉयट को आप नहीं प्रोवाइड कर रहे थे, उसने आपको आप नए ऑडिटर को प्रोवाइड कर पाए?
सही बताऊं निमेश जी, तो नए ऑडिटर ने 5 गुना ज़्यादा सैंपल टेस्ट किए। अब मैं आपको एक रियल इंसिडेंट बता रहा हूँ, मुझे पता नहीं बोलना चाहिए कि नहीं बोलना चाहिए। जिस दिन हमारा रिजल्ट डिक्लेयर हुआ, जिस दिन हमारा बोर्ड मीटिंग था, हमारे जो बड़े इन्वेस्टर सैप पार्टनर वो भी हमारे बोर्ड पे हैं, वो भी आए थे और उनके साथ उनके CFO भी आए थे, उनके कंपनी के जो स्पेशल इन्वाइटी थे। उसमें मैं बहुत ज़्यादा अकाउंट फाइनेंस चीज़ को नहीं समझता हूँ, तो मुझे मालूम था कि इनके दिमाग में भी एक शक होगा कि अरे ऑडिटर कहीं मेरा रिश्तेदार तो नहीं है, कहीं मेरा परिचित तो नहीं, कहीं मेरा दोस्त तो नहीं है। तो मैंने उनको बोला कि भाई एक रूम में आप सब खत्म हो जाओ तो आप बैठ जाना और जितने सवाल जवाब होगा आप इनसे पूछ लेना। तो मैं इसी रूम में उन तीनों लोगों को बिठा के बाहर चला गया था। आधे घंटे बाद आया मैं, तो मिस्टर सूद जो हैं उन्होंने बोला कि धीरू भाई इन्होंने बहुत अच्छे ढंग से ऑडिट किया है और हम लोग पूरा संतुष्ट हैं, और यही सब उनके जो CFO थे उन्होंने भी बोला। तो मैंने कहा अब तुम ये बात मुझे नहीं, अब तुम बाकी लोगों को ही बता देना। तो ऐसा नहीं कि आज के ज़माने में कोई भी जो ऑडिटर है वो आप कुछ भी चीज़ देख करके आपका वो ओके कर देगा। सबको अपने लाइसेंस की उसकी चिंता होती है। तो जो डॉक्यूमेंट्स उन्होंने मांगे सारे डॉक्यूमेंट हमने प्रोवाइड किए, बल्कि बोला कि 5 टाइम्स ज़्यादा उन्होंने देखा है, सैंपल चेक किया है। और ऐसा कोई स्पेसिफिक डॉक्यूमेंट नहीं है कि जो डिलाइट ने मांगे और हम उनको नहीं दिए। 8 साल से निमेश जी हमेशा ऐसा होता रहा कि ऑडिट खत्म होने के बाद भी ऑडिट चलता रहता था। ऐसा नहीं है कि आज ऑडिट का डेट खत्म हो गया, आज साइन कर दिया, कल से कुछ नहीं होगा। लगातार सालों से उनकी टीम यहाँ बैठी करती रहती थी। ये तो बोले कि दुर्घटना है, दुर्घटना जो है वो पहले से नहीं डिसाइड होती है, घट गई है।
Okay, that was one stock, the management of one stock that has been in the news all year for negative reasons. But on to some earnings expected today. FMCG major HUL gains ahead of its Q1 numbers. In any case, the stock is at a record high. Mangalam is here to tell us what the street is expecting. Mangalam, over to you.
Well, Sonia, you know, last 3 quarters before the numbers, we've been saying that the stock is at a record high ahead of the numbers. The street expectations are of a good set, as well as the stock is trading at expensive valuations, and that story continues even today. The numbers likely between 320 to about 340 thereabouts, and the street is expecting a good quarter. The stock has risen more than 50% in the last 12 months. So the 3 numbers that you have to watch out for, well, on the top line, the number that you should be looking at is around 9,700 crore. That is something that the CNBC TV18 poll throws up. That means a 13.5% revenue growth. The EBITDA is likely to grow a little higher than the revenue growth. 18.5% growth around that 2,200 crore mark is what we're working with. That means 100 basis points margin expansion. That comes by on the back of improved realizations, increased volumes, as well as the parents' focus on cost cutting. Add to that, we have a 20% net profit growth. So 13.5% revenue growth, 18.5% EBITDA growth, net profit growth of 20%. The key number that we watch out for in Hindustan Unilever, of course, is the volume. So we're working with around 11 to 12%. That comes on a base of 0%, as well as sequentially we're seeing demand momentum pick up. So in that regard, the management's commentary with regards to demand improvement, especially in the rural areas, will be very important.
50-50, about 30 points down. In fact, Midcap Universe has slipped further in the last 15 minutes of trade. So 1.7% down in Midcap Universe. Unitech, Ultratech Cement, I beg your pardon, is one stock on my radar which has suddenly got slammed in the last few minutes of trade. So keep an eye out on that particular counter. Moving on to the global markets then, and Asian markets, those closed lower today as investors digest the release of economic data in China. And China's second quarter GDP growth came in at 6.7% and meeting expectations, but slow lower than in the previous quarter. European markets, take a look at that. They opened slightly higher. US President Donald Trump and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin will be holding a summit later today in the capital of Finland. And CNBC's Hadley Gamble joins us with more details on what's really expected from there. Tell us, Hadley.
We're just hours away now from a historic meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and the U.S. President Donald Trump. Now, of course, they're being very clear that this is not, in fact, a summit, but just a working meeting. On the agenda, of course, Crimea, Syria, and no doubt the indictment of 12 Russian intelligence officers last Friday. But, of course, there are also questions about what's going to happen with this relationship going forward. Russian President Vladimir Putin has, of course, met with 4 consecutive U.S. presidents, and that relationship, according to President Trump today in a tweet, has never been worse.
Also, European leaders are in Beijing for the China-EU summit. The summit will cover a range of issues, including climate change, security, and expanding their strategic relationship. WTO trade reforms will also be on the agenda, given the recent escalating global trade tensions.
All right, get back home then. While Amazon really now claims to have over 100 million customers globally under its Prime program, this edition of their biggest event for the customers of the program, Prime Day, has been expanded to 17 countries, all starting at the same time. Now, Rukmini Rao, my colleague, caught up with Akshay Sahi, who's the India head of Prime, to find out what this means for Amazon India and take a look. And we will be back with Midcap Radar on the other side.
This time, we're so excited to bring the second edition of Prime Day to India. Prime Day 2018 promises to be bigger and better than ever before for Prime. We have over 36 hours of a shopping celebration, which kicks off at 12. Last year it was just 30 hours, but this year, because we're trying to build an even bigger global celebration, which spreads across 17 countries this time. Last year it was 13, right? It makes it a little tougher, and that's why we've built it even longer.
In terms of perhaps getting new customers onto the Prime platform just for this day, or looking at Prime Day as perhaps a pivot to increase the Prime base, has anything been done this time around?
So let's talk about deals first and selection, right? So the two big pillars for us which differentiate Prime Day is, one, of course, these are deals, but these are deals on the best products, from international marketplaces, some of our own products like Echo. And all these deals are the best prices, including last Diwali. So these prices cannot be beaten. So that's obviously in the deals part. The other thing which we do, which is unique for Prime Day, is we actually taken this day to launch new products for customers. Last year we launched about 30 products, and customers loved it so much, brands loved them so much, that giving access, preferential access to their brand to Prime members, that this year we've really doubled down to an extent that it's almost 10 times as much. We have more than 200 products which are launching.
What's been the growth like, and if you can put a number to how many Prime members are currently in India?
So I think we declared our global numbers the first time, that we have more than 100 million Prime members globally. Unfortunately, we don't declare numbers from a country perspective. But as I pointed out, the growth has been very encouraging and very humbling for us. Our membership has grown by, has more than doubled just since Prime Day last year. The week leading up to the last Prime Day led to more member acquisition than any previous month, right? So obviously Prime Day does drive a huge amount of acquisition as well. We hope that with more than twice the number of members, with so many new members joining us, and having bigger and better expectations from us, from the program, we hope that we are really that we are able to deliver a tremendous Prime Day and a tremendous celebration for everyone.